Hello there, listeners, and welcome to part 6 of this opening to the podcast when I'm trying to tell the story of how things got that shitty as they are today and give my ideas, my based ideas about why is it so. Mm. So we came all the way from the prehistorical time of the roots of humanity civilization all the way to 1990 about when we have the Palestinians as refugees and their leadership exile in Tunis, and we have Israel controlling all the land basically that she controls today, including, by the way, the Golan Heights since 1967. Um, yeah, if you want to know about more about it, you can read, I don't know, open internet and read history. You can see all kind of stories told by Israelis and by Palestinians about the war of 1948 and the war of 1967 and everything in between. I'm just giving a short brief, really. A very important part of this history is happening in the 90s, and also, by the way, this is where I'm getting into the picture. 1993, 13th of September, this is my birthday. This is the day when I was starting my life as a Maya in this world. And in this day, there was the first handshake in the Oslo agreements. That basically the idea of Oslo agreements is to bring the exile leadership of the Palestinians to the West Bank and create there a Palestinian state that will ideally will live peacefully among, like, next to the Israeli state. For the Palestinians, it's count as a very humiliating agreement in a way, I think, for the Palestinians society, because in their perspective, they supposed to own all of the land, and now they only get like a little piece. And surprisingly, also in the Israeli mindset, it counts as a very bad agreement, because also they want to own the land, and again, fear, as I said in preview episode. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, go to preview episode. Yeah, a lot of why did the Israeli people or big group of the Israeli people reject the Oslo agreements? First, because they want the land. Second, because this land have lots of religious importantness for religious people. So again, monotheism is getting deep into the reasons why things are look as they are. And fear, as I said in the preview episode, is the very base reason to why things look as shitty as they are. People were afraid because in the 90s it was already a few decades that there is lots of violence coming from the Palestinian refugees into Israel, and the fear was that if they have their own state, they will just do something kind of like what we see in October 7. Just like madly, brutally attack Israel and murdered and butchered and kidnapped and raped like everyone that they see. That was the fear. And yeah, also many people in the Israeli society were happy for the agreement and had the feeling of hope for peace. Thinking, okay, we have a few decades of war, let's finish it, let's make peace, let give them their state so they can live peacefully, and let us create something that some kind of situation that our children can safely grow in with peace, and for the Palestinian children to a place to grow in peace and honor. So it was like a very big conflict in the Israeli society, a very central conflict. The ones that support the Oslo agreements are called left wing in Israel, and the one that reject the Oslo agreements called right-wing. I think you can find different ways to define left and right in Israel, but I think that's a good one. That's a good way to define the left wing and the right wing in Israel. It's really around those Oslo agreements. So the government back then was counted as lefty. It was supporting the Oslo agreements and promoting it, and there was lots of protesting of right-wing people rejecting the agreements, and it was very like violent vibe in those protests. In one famous protest they carry like a cabin with the name of Yitzhak Rabin, that used to be the Israel prime minister that promote the Oslo agreements. It's like lifting a cabin like he's already dead for them. And the religious leaders, the right wing in Israel is very connected with the religious movement. So the religious leaders make like a religious decision that it's okay to kill Rabin. It's okay to kill this prime minister because he's putting lots of Israeli people at risk. Again, going back to religion and monotheism as the reason to why things look that shitty as they are. Anyway, they did it. There is like a dude named Yigal Amir, and he took a gun and he shot the prime minister and he murdered Yitzhak Rabin. This way, kind of ending the whole Oslo agreements thing. It never managed to recover. By the way, another important character in our story is entering the story around the Oslo agreements. It's Benjamin Netanyahu, that was one of the leaders of the protests against Oslo agreements, that end up with the murder of Yitzhak Rabin. Yeah, what else? What happened then? Slowly the right wing took power in Israel. It was elected, then the left wing came back, then the right wing again, then more right wing, then very right wing, then extremely right wing. Then we had the Corona time, and all the civilization in the world was getting crazy, and we had like terrible political lockdowns. And Netanyahu, that was prime minister back then. I think he's prime minister for like 15 years or something. He's really, really for a long time. So already before Corona, people were protesting against him because he got really corrupted. He's under trial now for like I don't know, 3, 4, 5 different cases of corruption. I think the guy is completely psychotic. He's crazy and psychotic, and he robbed a lot of money, and he's continuously lying. I'm not. This is like objective, saying that Netanyahu is lying, because you can see video of him saying stuff and then doing the other things, or saying different stuff, or is just a big liar, really. So people protest against him already before Corona time. Then in Corona time we were protesting against lockdowns that had a very political smell coming from them, and then after Corona, for a very short time, there was, if you ask me, a beautiful government in Israel managed to replace this corrupted government of Netanyahu. It was built from right wing, left wing, even Arab politicians were involved in this government, led by Naftali Bennett and Yair Lapid, but it survived really short time. I'm not sure why did it survive really short time. I think it had something to do with the need to redecide about conquering the West Bank, and there was some Arab politicians there that reject that. And anyway, from some reason this government didn't hold up, and we had another election. Then we got this the worst government that Israel ever had. supported by the extreme right-wing religious party. Itamar Ben Gvir, Bezalel Smotrich, Otzma Yehudit is the name of. There is two extreme right-wing parties. One of them is the Jewish Hatzionut Hadatit, the Jewish Zionite, and the other is Otzma Yehudit, Jewish Power. Really, that's the name of the party. Is the leader of this party is now the Minister of Police. Yeah, really fucked up stuff. And this guy, and he used to be wanted by the Israel secret identity for terror. It's Itamar Ben Gvir, and now he's a minister at the government. Okay, so a really, really bad, fucked up government rose in Israel, and they had the idea of take power over court, and that's a whole other story. Big. I can talk I can talk a lot about it because in this point I was already politically involved and going to protesting. I think if you want to know more about it, go to my old podcast in Spotify, same name, same picture, Life in a War Zone. Back there I have like many episodes, and some of them speak about, I think episode 109, 110 speak directly about those protesting, so you can get more information about that and about everything if you go to my old podcast, Life in a War Zone, same picture in Spotify. Anyway, yeah, so that was the situation when October 7 happened. We were, like many people, were protesting against the government taking power over court, and some people were supporting the government and blaming the court in being corrupted and anti-Zionite and stuff. And then October 7 happened. Now, in order to explain October 7, I need to go a bit back to one very important thing that I missed. It was in 2006, and Ariel Sharon was Prime Minister in Israel, and he decided to one-sidedly go out of Gaza. There was Israeli settlements back there in the Gaza Strip, because as I said before, in 1967 it was conquered by Israel, so there was Israeli settlements there, and with police force they took the settlements out of their home, evacuating the Jewish population out of Gaza in order to give it to the Palestinians. The idea was trying to relive Oslo agreements in a way and make Gaza as an experiment to see how it is to give the Palestinians a state in order to release the kind of the West Bank, I think, to the Palestinians as a state. But Ariel Sharon got a stroke in his head, like a blood vessel got exploded in his head, and he got in the end he died. Anyway, so that's how this new process was stopped. But Gaza was left to the Palestinians. And back then there was two main parties or movement competing for the leadership in the Palestinian society. One of them is the Fatah, the same movement that was the Palestinian leadership exiled in Tunis and being brought back to Israel with Oslo agreements, which is a very national movement, non-religious, mostly. Like they are most of the Muslims, but the Palestinian idea for them is a national idea. It's not a religious idea. And the second movement is Hamas. Now, Hamas is an extremely extreme right-wing religious organization that see violent or sacred war of religion, jihad as they call it, as the way to achieve their goal, which is to take control and build a Palestinian religious Muslim state in all of the land of where used to be Palestine and today is Israel. So when Israel exits the Gaza Strip, there was supposedly elections, but a lot of violence was involved in these elections, and it's actually an important question: how did Hamas took power over Gaza? Did the people of Gaza elect Hamas, or did he took power by force? And I think it's kind of like a mix between the two. But we're gonna have to make it a new part. So another part is coming up.